Hi, my name's Bree, and today I'm going to talk about all the books I read in January. In January, I read a total of 12 books, two of which I rated 5 stars. So I can't wait to review all these books with you. I'm not going to give any spoilers at all. I'm just going to give my star rating and my general thoughts of each of the books, maybe just a tiny little synopsis of each. So if you want to hear about the 12 books that I read in January, keep on watching. And if you enjoy this video, I really hope you'll subscribe to my channel to keep up with the books I read all throughout 2026, as well as seeing some of my plants, maybe. So I have a stack here of all of the physical books I read in January. I read a total of 12 books, but 7 of them were physical. Then I had some ebooks and some audiobooks as well that I will be talking about. But we might as well talk about the physical books first. So the first book I read in January 2026 was Orlando by Virginia Woolf. It is a book that bends gender and sex that is well before its time. I did give this book my first 5 star of the year, and it was my first book I read. I have been in a tiny bit of a reading slump before 2026 began. I'm a librarian. I read my heart out. I've been an avid reader my whole life, but I had taken a little bit of a hiatus. So I'm so glad that this is the book that I chose to read at the beginning of the year because it really made me fall back in love with literature, fall back in love with reading and character development. This is a 5 star. If you haven't read it already, I really do recommend it. Next physical book in my pile is The Tortilla Curtain. Sorry, I'm gonna have to look at the ratings I gave. I have my Goodreads open next to me, so if I'm looking to the side, I'm looking at my star reviews. So, The Tortilla Curtain is a book about immigrants. It is from two perspectives, a white man in Southern California and an illegal immigrant from Mexico in Southern California, and both of their journeys, how they collide, their story. Now, I thought the writing was interesting, but because I'm reading this in 2026, everything happening with ICE, this book might have cut just a little bit too close to home for me. The white characters were getting more and more ignorant as the book progressed, and I can't say I loved that. I gave this book 3 stars, and honestly, it might have been rated higher had I read it in a different under a different administration in a different time of my life, but it was kind of hard to read. Next, Raymond Chandler, The Long Goodbye. This was my first Raymond Chandler. He is a very well known, well revered mystery writer. And I have to say, this book was very misogynistic. It was very focused on the male characters only, the male voice only. And because of that, I did not love it. I gave it either a 2 or 3 star. Let me check. I gave this book 3 stars, probably because the writing is decent, but I honestly didn't like how male centered it was. It was kind of predictable. It just wasn't my favorite, and I probably will not read more Raymond Chandler. But if you're a huge fan of him, go ahead and drop a recommendation in the comments because I'm always open to try a second book from an author. The Outsiders was the first book I read this year out loud with my husband. So we read out loud together, sometimes at night, and this is the first book we completed this year, The Outsider. It was my favorite book as a child. Like in elementary school, this was my book. And to reread it as an adult was interesting. I didn't love it as much. The theme is heavily influenced by classism, and I did really enjoy that. I like the coming of age story. It's an easy read. I gave this 4 stars. Beloved by Toni Morrison. This took me a while to get to, honestly. This is a super well revered classic. It is a horror, it is about slavery and racism. Beautiful, haunted story. I really loved this. I gave it a 4 star on Goodread. There's no half stars. I would have given it a 4.5 star. It was eerie. It was, you took your own perspective with it. It was a kind of open ended ending. I really enjoy this. I would definitely recommend it. Next was the sequel, Jazz by Toni Morrison. Why is it a sequel? No clue. They are not related in my eyes. They have different characters, they have a different setting. It's not a sequel, but I read it right after because it is labeled as a sequel. I liked this book a lot less. It is the Harlem Renaissance, which I thought I'd love. I love jazz music. It, again, racism. I really liked how there was a lot of gender crime in this book. Like, it really highlighted crimes of passion, crimes against women, which I thought was great. I gave it a 3 star. I just didn't like it as much as Beloved, but it's still a good book, of course. Her writing is beautiful. The last physical book I read in January is Good as Gone by Amy Gentry. This is a thriller. It was super easy to read. Like, I breezed through this. It might have been a one-day book for me. Snowy day, sat down, read it all. It was good. I liked it. I'm not going to give any spoilers, so with a thriller, it's kind of hard to talk about. There was someone missing. You gotta, I don't know. I don't want to give anything away, but it was good. Yeah, I gave this book 4 stars. It's an easy read. I'd recommend it to people who aren't super into reading, so therefore I think it's a good book. Now we get to chat about the ebooks and audiobooks that I dived into. So I don't have anything physically to show you. If I can figure out how to, I'll put a picture on the screen. If not, you can look it up. The other books that I read in January, the next one is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I gave this a 4 star also. It had a strong underlying theme of plagiarism. It had a lot to do with race as well. It was all about Asian Americans, and I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was well written. I didn't love the ending, but I would still recommend reading it. The next book I read was Freshwater by Awaki Amenzi. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. It was recommended to me by my dog sitter, Erica. So, Erica, if you happen to be watching this, thanks for the recommendation. I gave this book a 4 star. I thought it was very, very thought provoking. Sense of self, sense of identity was a central theme in this book. And I thought it was a really good book to make you think, which I am partial to. So I gave it 4 stars. I didn't necessarily love the writing style, but so I would be open to reading more by this author. The next book is the final one I read in January, and it is my second 5 star book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It's been around for a while. It has a cult following for a while. Oh my goodness, I could not put this down. It is such a good book. It is kind of fantasy leaning, which I'm not always into fantasy, but there's a little bit of love story mixed in. There's a lot of adventure mixed in. My favorite part about this book is Addie's character. The main character is so well thought through. She has lots of development. She's just a beautiful character that I wanted to know more about her journey. I wanted to hear about her life. I wanted to know what was going to happen. There is a little bit of dealing with the devil, making, not bets, making agreements. I give you this for that, bartering with the devil, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a story I just loved. I'd recommend it to everyone. I hope to dabble more in this author's works because this was my first book I read by V.E. Schwab, and I definitely want to read more because this is just such a stunning book. One of my favorites I've read in a very, very long time.
Hi, Editing Brie here. I just realized I missed 2 of my non-print books for January. I didn't even talk about them. So I'm going to do so right now, really, really quickly. So the first book is Alice in Wonderland. It was the play version and by Alice Gerstenberg. I gave it a 3 star because I didn't think it was as good as the original, but it was very, very entertaining. The next one was an audiobook I listened to called When Buffaloes Ran, a frontier classic of childhood on the plains. And it was like a memoir type book all about Native American life and hunting for buffalo. I found it very, very interesting. I gave that a 4 star.
So those are the 12 books I read in January. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know what your favorite books of January are. I'm always adding to my TBR list, and I would love to know what you're loving diving into. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Happy reading!